Well, we're starting this one off with a bang. I know, cheesy. Oh well, this is a cheesy movie. This is 2016's Keeping Up with the Joneses. Spoiler alert, while I might be giving you my opinion on the film, that's no substitute for watching it for yourself. Links to the film are in the description. 2 weeks before this explosive day, Jeff and Karen are sending their kids off to camp, and they're making sure they remember all of their last-minute reminders. The second the bus is gone, the two parents get a little emotional and start worrying immediately. When they make it back to their cul-de-sac, they see their friend Meg as she puts a sold sign on the next-door house. They find out that the new buyers bought the house sight unseen and with cash. Suddenly, Meg's husband Dan shows up, and we find out that Karen and Jeff are going to try and enjoy an empty house with no kids. Once they get home, Jeff notices that this is the first time in a long time they've been alone in the house. They immediately start thinking about all the things they could do together, and it looks like a rip-roaring time until they imagine the house burning down. Popcorn and The Good Wife it is. The next day, the new neighbors start moving in as Jeff goes to work, and the day goes on as normal. When Jeff gets to work, Dan's heading out, and he tries to see if he knows anything about the new neighbors. After getting no information, Jeff tries to ask Dan about what's going on upstairs. And we find out that what Dan works on upstairs is confidential. What follows is a sad representation of how little Jeff is respected by his peers. He has people show up to use his computer since his computer is the only one with internet. He conducts trust fall exercises, and mediates problems that have already been fixed. Exhilarating work. I know people make fun of it a lot, but I can't imagine human resources being anything other than an energy-draining job. Back at the house, Karen spots the new neighbors as they move in, and she sends pictures of the happy couple to Jeff, who's mediating the pointless argument. After a fight breaks out, that's the end of the day, and Jeff heads back home. Well, that's an awkward introduction. Especially when your neighbors look like that. It's Don Draper and Wonder Woman, for crying out loud. Karen assures them that that was a joke, and the Joneses introduce themselves as Tim and Natalie. They talk about how they've lived all over the world, but they're really just looking for the chance to settle down in the peaceful neighborhood. Tim's a travel writer, and Natalie's a blogger. Tim brings them a present of a glass sculpture that he made, and Jeff scavenges his bag to get something for them. He finds a stress ball from his office, and he walks them to the door. Before they leave, Jeff invites them to a neighborhood get-together that's coming up, and Tim lets it slip that he knows that Jeff works at MBI. Karen picks up on this, and she gets a little suspicious. When it's time for the get-together, things go about their normal, boring routine, but Tim and Natalie seem to shake things up for a bit. Tim's over here telling what's essentially a touching drama movie, and no one thinks that any of this is suspicious. Natalie, on the other hand, proves that she really is Wonder Woman. Between this and Fast and the Furious, I'm convinced that Gal Gadot is her alter ego and not her in real life. Karen notices that Tim's wandering around inside the house, and when she goes to see what he's doing, Tim tries to play it off like he's looking for the bathroom. But when Karen tells him where it is, he plays it off like he doesn't need to go anymore. That night, Karen tries to talk to Jeff about how odd things seem, but Jeff does not think there's anything nefarious going on. Just as Jeff talks about how normal the Joneses are, we see that Natalie shows up at MBI offices in disguise, and distracts the guards as Tim sneaks in. Tim makes it all the way to Jeff's desk where he hacks into his profile to look at all of the traffic that goes through his computer since everyone uses it. Sure enough, he finds the message he's looking for. This is just another one of those classic movies where you can't help but feel bad for the bumbling fool that gets used by everyone. I mean, look at Jeff, he has no clue what's going on and he just wants a friend. That night, Karen spots the Joneses as they get back home late, and the next day she decides to dig into who they are online. Jeff, on the other hand, runs into Tim at the local brewery supply store, and Tim tries to act like he's trying to pick up a similar interest. After buying supplies, they decide to go out to eat for lunch. Back at home, Karen can't help but think that Natalie's life is starting to look too perfect. When she looks out the window, she sees Natalie loading a briefcase in the trunk, and she decides to follow her to the local Bloomingdale's. Jeff and Tim head back to a secret backroom specialty Chinese restaurant. How did Tim know about this place? He's brand new to the town, and this is not somewhere that you just know about. Jeff's lived here for years and he's never heard of it at all. There are red flags everywhere, like how Tim immediately starts asking what kind of stories Jeff can tell him from work. After finding out that this is actually a snake restaurant, where they're going to drink snake wine and watch a live snake get prepared for them to eat, he gets a call from Karen, who's still following Natalie around the store. Jeff tries to listen, but he's too preoccupied with the dying snake that's sitting right in front of him. Karen follows Natalie to the underwear section, and when she follows her back to the dressing room, she's absolutely surprised when Natalie catches her off guard. Look at her! Natalie tries to get information the right way. She's drop-dead gorgeous and half naked. Even Karen can't be at a loss for words at the sight of her. Can't blame her. Back at the snake restaurant, Jeff's eating his snake lunch, and he's definitely a little inebriated. He tells Tim about all sorts of stuff he knows about from work, but none of it seems to be the jackpot of information that Tim was hoping for. Their conversations cut early when Jeff reaches over to take food from Tim's plate though. Oh, I'd panic. I'd absolutely panic at this point. This is a snake that they just said will kill you in less than 50 paces. Tim gets the club owner to get the anti-venom, and they inject it just in time. Over at the dressing rooms, Karen's called out for following Natalie throughout the day, and she introduces Karen to the wonderful world of Kegel. After Jeff gets Tim to open up about how he hates what he does for a living, he decides to take Tim on a whirlwind of an adventure to an indoor air tunnel. By the end of the night, Jeff and Tim are both going home with smiles on their faces. Karen welcomes Jeff with open arms, actually more like an open robe. Apparently Natalie's opened up Karen's eyes to the wonderful world of sex, and when Jeff sees Karen with her robe off, he gets carried away. He ends up kicking the glass sculpture off the table, and Karen finds a bug inside of the pieces. Karen takes Jeff upstairs to explain that they bugged them, and Karen finds out that Tim and Natalie are actually gone out with another friend. So Karen decides to sneak into their house to try and find some evidence of who they are. Eventually, they find the room upstairs that's full of electronics. When she looks through open files on the computer, they find that they're going through the employee files at MBI. They get out of the house just in time, and Tim and Natalie head upstairs to cross off some suspects now that they've done some time with other people. Natalie finds out that Tim seems to be getting a little too close to Jeff, but it all seems harmless for the time being. It's only after she notices the empty tranquilizer pen on the ground that they know someone's been inside. The next day, Jeff's paranoid while at work, but Dan eventually comes in to use the computer. Jeff decides to open up to Dan about Tim and Natalie being spies, and he ends up telling the security man, Carl. After giving him the bug from his house, Carl calls him back that afternoon to confirm that the equipment is the real deal. Just then, Jeff slams on the brakes to avoid hitting Tim, who questions him on the break in the night before. Jeff's not the person to have covering up for anything. I don't think he could tell a lie without sweating away all of the guilt. Tim knows. There's no way he believes anything Jeff says. The next day, Karen and Jeff go to meet Carl at his trailer to talk about their options, but Karen spots a red dot on his forehead. That's a terrible way to go. She just had to make him self-conscious of something that wasn't even a problem right before he got shot. His final thoughts were of adult acne. Do you know how depressing that would be? Way to go, Karen. Such a Karen. Now that they're under attack, it becomes clear that the situation they're in is way bigger than they originally thought. Soon, Tim and Natalie show up and give them covering fire to get in the car. After an exhilarating car chase and shootout, the two couples head to a cafe to get some food and enjoy a crossword. Jeff just wants some answers though. After throwing out a bunch of different questions that they can't answer, the only truth they have found out is that they're actually married. After Natalie finds out that Tim told Jeff how he hates his job, it seems to cause a rift in an otherwise perfect marriage. After dealing with the drama here, Tim finally just tells Jeff that they received intel that someone was using his work computer to sell secrets. Once they all get to the cul-de-sac, Jeff asks if everything they've done together was just because they were trying to get info, and Tim assures him that not all of it was. Well, we've made it full circle. The Joneses have been blown up. What would your thoughts be here? Jeff thinks that whoever killed them is going to come after them next, and that's a safe thought. I wouldn't even have gone back in the house at that point. We're just gonna sit outside. While they're frantically panicking, they end up finding Tim and Natalie downstairs with Dan and Meg tied up to chairs. Tim explains how they survived their house blowing up, and he tells them that they're trying to figure out who an international arms dealer named Scorpion is. Natalie immediately goes for torture devices, but Jeff's kind nature makes her give him a chance to communicate with Dan first. After some time communicating, Dan finally opens up to say how hard it is to raise 4 kids on a rocket scientist's salary. After getting this information from Dan, the Scorpion actually calls his phone, and Jeff pretends to be Dan. After setting up a meeting for handing the computer chips over, Tim and Natalie help Jeff and Karen get ready for their big spy debut. While Jeff and Karen head in through the front door of the hotel, the spies get ready to provide cover from a nearby rooftop. While they wait, Natalie admits that they need to do work on communication, and she wants to talk more about how he isn't happy with their work. This movie pushes communication just as hard as Fast and the Furious pushes family. You know what I mean there. As Jeff and Karen are escorted to the Scorpion's room, we see that there are other spies around the hotel to help with extraction when it comes time to leave. Now that they're face to face with the Scorpion, they're stripped of all of their belongings and welcomed over to partake in some drink and food. Once Jeff sits down and hands over the briefcase, he notices that he recognizes the Scorpion from somewhere. He remembers where he knows the Scorpion from, but Karen promptly gets him to shut up. Once the chips are verified and the money's handed over, The Scorpion gives them their belongings back and sends them on their way. But Jeff accidentally knocks one of the stress balls over to Scorpion. Those damn stress balls, it's like they're Jeff's calling cards. Everywhere Jeff's been, you can probably find a little red stress ball sitting on a nearby counter or something. Well, the Scorpion remembers exactly who he is. And it's all because he had trauma from his sessions with Jeff and the stress balls. Now that Karen and Jeff have been made, Tim calls for extraction teams to move in. But the company decides that they're simply collateral damage. But they aren't going to let their neighbors die. After Jeff messes up even more by remembering that the Scorpion's name is actually Bruce Springsteen. Tim and Natalie get themselves taken to a room where they immediately start to take care of the guards. While Tim and Natalie take care of most of the bad guys, Karen and Jeff grab the suitcase of computer chips, and they jump out of the hallway to the pool below. Well, all of them except for Jeff. Bruce scares him out of the window and picks up the suitcase of chips that got dropped. But once Jeff is safe in the pool, Natalie triggers the explosive they planted in the suitcase. Now that it's a happy ending, the four of the friends get a taxi back home, and they sound like they had the best little adventure at the skating rink down the road. Tim and Natalie explain that they can't stay to talk, and they say their goodbyes after reminding Jeff to leave the cul-de-sac every now and then. Flash forward to next summer, and we see Jeff and Karen at the cafe they found about from Tim and Natalie in Marrakech. While there, they actually run into the super spies who are on vacation. After they join their table, they quickly find out that they're not on vacation, but they're actually in the middle of a job right now. Throw a stress ball, Jeff! Then the credits roll. This is one of those feel-good movies that has the perfect amount of action, comedy, and romance. Not to mention the cast is top tier for the kind of movie it is. I absolutely recommend this one. And if you can think of any other similar, let me know, because I need more. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more like this one. Comment what you think I should watch next, and I'll see you in the next video.